I just wanted to talk about Rosh Hashanah and how it is why it is the first day of the year, right? So, and if you study the Torah, at least for me, when I was first studying the Torah, we learned that Aviv or Nisan was like the first, right? Nisan was the first, and so I was a little bit confused, right? And as is many people that start learning the Torah, right? They're like, it says it right here, right? Here's the verse. It says in Exodus 12, verse 2. For Nisan, the Torah states, this month shall be to you the head of the months. To you it shall be the first of the months of the year. So that's the first of the year, right? But later on, it says and then also it says in Leviticus 23, verse 24, speak to the children of Israel, saying, in the seventh month, on the first of the month, it shall be a Shabbat for you, a remembrance of Israel through the shofar blast, a holy occasion. So it never really says that, Yom Teruah is the head of the year, but there are other proofs, right? I mean, Nisan is the head of months, but Tishrei, which is Rosh Hashanah, Tishrei 1, is the head of the year. The reason why it's the head of the year is because there's many things that happen on this day, right? The Shemitahs, they always start on this day. So every 7 years, it doesn't start in Nisan. It starts on this day. The Yovel, which is whenever everybody is given their land back. When in the Shemitahs, I think would also debts are canceled, and I think even the slaves are freed, right? At least the Jewish slaves are freed. Every Shemitah. So this is a big time of the year. So, and it's also counted when the king was coronated. When the king was coronated on this day, right? So that is why we call it the first of the year, because if something major like that is going to happen, it's going to be the first of the year. Also, sages are Midrash. It teaches that this day is also the creation started on this day. On even though it's the seventh month, it was actually the first month that time. Since creation started. And the Jewish New Year, yeah, so that's why we call it the Jewish New Year, the New Year start. And that's where our New Year's days, all the days every year, we have which year is it this year? 5785. 5785, it started counting at that time, right? So these are the reasons, these are big reasons why Rosh Hashanah is the head of the year, right? But then I want to guess, like, what's some practical things we can do for Rosh Hashanah, right? Something that kind of ties into its significance, at least during the Shemitah and the Yovel years. And two of them came to mind. First of all, if we are in debt, we do a personal debt review, right? Whatever debts we have, take into account what the debts you have, and make up a plan to pay these off. I'm trying to be practical, right? Let's try to make a plan to pay these debts off so that we can be free of debt. Just like what will happen on Rosh Hashanah back in the days, and what it's going to happen in the future, I think. So their debts will be paid off, so we can try to work towards that, right? And then the second one is freedom assessment. So you may think you're free, and you probably are mostly, but there might be things that are enslaving you, right? There might be ideas in your head that are enslaving you, or just bad habits that are enslaving you, right? And so let's make a list of your bad habits, or make commitments that maybe burdensome, like it's not fun, not good for you anymore, or whatever's making you feel down, whatever's happening, and try to free yourself from this slavery, right? So that it will connect with Rosh Hashanah. So to try to come up with a plan to achieve this freedom. So you'll be free from debt and free from a negative thing that's happening in your life. And so that was just kind of my quick ideas that I came up with for this holiday of Rosh Hashanah. I'm not sure if we're going to have any other drashes.
Safa, do you have anything?
I had something really quick. I'll try to be really, really quick. This week, I heard several rabbis talk about a Hasidic idea that one of the Hasatans that go before Hashem on the daily accounting. There's an idea that some places that when we go to sleep, that one of the Hasatans that goes before Hashem to go before Hashem to accuse us is actually our Yetzer Hara, which is basically our self, right? And so the idea was that we have to remember to have a mindset that is positive, right? We've allowed other religious beliefs to frame Hashem's creation in a negative light. All we have to do is go into Hashem's creation, what He established, and we take Him at His word. And when He looked down at creation, He said, "This creation is good, and not only good but very good." So we have to hold Him at His word, and we have to fight to find our goodness. And if we put other people in that light and put ourselves in that light, we can bring a good word to Hashem for ourselves. So whatever's going on that you have been holding on to, and including myself, this is the time to let go of it and to let Hashem cover over it. You don't need to bring it up to Hashem over and over when He's already forgiven us. Lashana Tova.
So I just wanted to share about the Torah portion and the Haftarah portion and their connections with each other. So today we blow the shofar, and it calls it, Yom HaZikaron, which means the day of remembering, or the day of remembrances in Hebrew, in the Torah. And of course, we're celebrating Rosh Hashanah, as Rav Reuven said, because we're counting from the beginning of creation, not from the beginning of the birth of the nation of Israel, which is Nisan 1, which is more like America's July 4th, right, when we celebrate Independence Day. It's something much different, and it traces back to creation. And it's very important in Judaism, and it's where we get the idea of that the year is right now 5,785. We only have that count because we trust that we have not lost that. We trust that Moshe knew that, and that Avraham knew that, and that this was traced all the way from creation from the Bible. And if Hashem has the omnipotence to give us the Torah, which in Orthodox Judaism, at least, we believe was straight from Hashem, except for Deuteronomy, which because Deuteronomy, Devarim, Moshe was privileged to have the honor of writing the Torah in his own words. That is Devarim, at least the journey that he took with the children of Israel. That's Devarim. But all the other books of the Torah, Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, and Numbers, Moshe wasn't there in Genesis. How do we know that Bereshit is true? We take it by faith. And if we can take the Torah by faith, and that it was given to Moshe, and it was, impressed upon him to write it, which Yeshua also says that the Torah is written by Moshe, why can we not accept also by faith that Hashem told Moshe what the year was, and why couldn't we not take it by faith that the Jewish people have faithfully been counting the years since creation, ever since it became known to us through Moshe. Everything is by faith, all of that. And there are many prophecies that are tied to the year, including the Jewish prophecy that there's going to be 6,000 years of sin, and then the 7,000th year will be the era of Mashiach, when Mashiach comes and reigns on earth for 1,000 years. And then after that, the 8th millennium, which is represented by the 8th day in Sukkot, Shmini Atzeret. Okay, so all those prophecies are tied together, and these are Jewish prophecies, not Messianic prophecies, even though Christians have also latched onto them. But anyways, it says that we're supposed to blow the shofar, and it's supposed to be a day of remembering. So the shofar is supposed to help us remember something. And the sages say that we are supposed to remember the shofar. And the shofar, the most memorable story about the shofar is the story of Avraham and Yitzhak, when Yitzhak was sacrificed, or almost sacrificed, depending on whether you believe the legends or not, on Mount Moriah. And also by legend, that is where the temple stood and will stand again. And in the Haftarah portion, we have the story of Elkanah and Hannah. And the tie between the Haftarah portion and the Torah portion is that we have the story of two men who came from women who had a very hard time with bearing children. And so they were both, in a way, miracle babies, which is why Messianics tie Yeshua to that. That's one reason. And that was Abraham's quote unquote, not his only son, was because he also had Ishmael, but he was the only son of the promise, because Ishmael wasn't part of that covenant. He wasn't part of the promise. So Yitzhak was special. The promise couldn't go to Ishmael because that was not Hashem's plan to begin with. So he was a son of promise, yet Hashem, told him to give him up, to sacrifice his only son, to test his love for him. So we have in the Torah the first example of love through self-sacrifice, and sacrifice not just of yourself, but even a greater sacrifice. It's easier for a parent to sacrifice their son or their child, especially their only child. It's harder for a parent to sacrifice their son than it is for them to sacrifice themselves, right? And so we see that in both stories, both in the Torah and the Haftarah, we see these women crying out, and these are favored women. They are special women in the story. They were beloved women. Both of these patriarchs had more than one wife or concubine, but it was this specific wife that was favored and loved. And I see this as a picture of Israel. Hashem is our husband, is the husband of Israel, and we're supposed to be favored, quote unquote favored. But Israel, just like these two barren women, they suffer under persecution. The women were suffering under persecution by the rival wives, right? And these rival wives, I see them as like rival nations, because we're all, Hashem loves all the nations of the earth, right? But Israel is special. But even though Israel is special, and even though we're supposed to be favored, we are persecuted, and we are judged much more harshly than any other nation on earth. And that's why Israel is in a war right now. It's not because we're more righteous than any other nation. It's not because we're more evil than any other nation. And I'm talking about both the physical nation of Israel and also the spiritual body of Israel, which is scattered throughout the diaspora, throughout the world. We are favored. And just like the barren women of the two stories, because we are favored, It seems like there's a pattern in the Bible. Whenever someone's favored, look at Yosef. Yosef was favored by his father. And so he was favored enough that he was chosen to do the hardest task of his whole entire family. And so that's what it means to be favored. It means we are special. And because we are special, we can undergo a fiery trial, a fiercer persecution, a harder life than anyone else, and especially everyone else who is not favored. And we also see that in the story of Job. He was a righteous man, right? There's no one on earth more righteous than righteous Job. And yet he suffered a fate that none of us would want to suffer. And this is the story of Yeshua. This is the story of Job. This is the story of many righteous men in the Bible and throughout Jewish and Christian history. People who have stood up for their faith, who have died for the principles of God, who have died to fight for freedom and truth and to protect the innocent, etc. And so when we're blowing the shofar and we're hearing the shofar today, let's remember that Hashem loves us. We are favored. And so throughout every single persecution in life, we understand that this is our calling. We are called to be his light throughout all the persecutions that we may face. We're going to do a special setup for Rosh